Go, jump!
Come on! Don't let go!
Oh, I got you, I promise. Run! Run! Run!
Hi there. Today we're going to explore the plot of the 2024 film, Elevation. Humanity has been almost wiped out by mysterious creatures that don't ascend above a certain altitude. A female scientist living in the mountains descends to the lowlands in search of a way to destroy the monsters. The film begins with military radio chatter discussing a sudden attack by mysterious creatures worldwide. The military forces suffered devastating losses. 3 years later, the remnants of humanity cling to life high in the mountains, as the monsters do not ascend above 12,500 meters above sea level. In the Colorado mountains, a small town shelters a group of survivors. A boy named Hunter from this town descends below the safe altitude to use binoculars and glimpse another community on a distant mountain. On his way back, he notices he's being watched. A bright red light is following him. Hunter runs uphill toward the marked boundary of the safe altitude. The monster pursues him, but at the last moment, the boy crosses the line, causing the creature to stop. At home, Hunter tells his father, Will, about the incident. Will gets angry at his son and reminds him that his weak lungs could have led to respiratory failure during the chase.
I can't lose you. I need you to understand that.
Later, Will goes hunting with Katie, a friend of his late wife, Tara. He explains that his son descends below the boundary to see the other community. Katie understands. Hunter misses having peers and has no one to play with. Meanwhile, Nina, a scientist also living in the town, works on creating armor-piercing rounds from improvised materials. She tests them on scales chipped from one of the monsters. Nina dreams of finding a way to destroy the dangerous creatures whose armor is impervious to conventional bullets. That evening, Will hears the alarm from the inhalation device his son uses at night. He changes the oxygen tank so Hunter can breathe. Realizing their oxygen supplies are running low, Will begins planning a perilous descent to the lowlands, to the city of Boulder. The hospital there may still have the oxygen tanks they need. The next day, Will spends time with his son, gathering edible roots. He trades their last batch of foraged food at the store for a box of macaroni and cheese.
It's Hunter's birthday.
And you want my last box of mac and cheese.
I have these to trade. It's not much, but...
It's a knife.
Hunter's favorite dish. That evening they prepare dinner together, but the boy suffers another respiratory attack during the night. Will uses an emergency syringe of medication but knows they're running out of time. He approaches Nina, who had previously made a similar journey to a laboratory in Boulder, searching for chemicals to develop weapons against the monsters. During that expedition, Will's wife Tara was killed. Nina was the only one to return alive. Will asks her to accompany him to the hospital. At first, she refuses, calling it madness. But by morning, she seems to have changed her mind and begins preparing a special compass. At dawn, Will gathers weapons for the journey. Katie finds him and volunteers to join as the third member of the group. Nina is already waiting outside.
We don't need your help.
You don't need anyone's help, do you, Nina?
You ever seen one coming for you?
Not just a flickering light in the distance. We're gonna die out there. But you first.
After saying goodbye to his son, Will leads the women along a route he scouted earlier, which minimizes exposure to danger zones. On the way, Nina and Katie start arguing, but Will sharply interrupts them. The group encounters a destroyed military convoy, which had fallen prey to the monsters. Descending into the lowlands, they search the abandoned military vehicles and soldiers' remains for equipment. Nina explains that her compass can detect monsters up to half a kilometer away. She hands the device to Katie to monitor potential threats while she studies the armored scales she plans to use for her research. When Will finds an underbarrel grenade launcher, Katie attaches it to her rifle. The group is ready to continue, but tension arises among them. Nina accuses Katie of trying to attract the attention of her late friend's husband. In response, Katie reminds her that Tara died because of Nina.
I don't like you, Nina. I never have.
I don't blame you, Katie.
After exchanging sharp words, the group resumes their journey. Soon they reach an abandoned ski resort, where a lift leads to another mountain. Nina notices on the compass that a monster is nearby, its signal light flashing among the trees behind them. Katie suggests they make a run for the safe altitude, but Nina disagrees, arguing they won't make it in time. Will agrees with Nina and runs to the control booth to start the lift. While the women fend off the monster from different positions, Will restores power and activates the mechanism. Katie manages to fire the grenade launcher at the creature, but the explosion doesn't harm it. Will and Nina climb onto the lift's chairs. Katie, having evaded the monster, climbs onto a support pillar and jumps onto the lift. She grabs hold with her hands, and Will helps pull her up, but the monster strikes the cable, causing severe vibrations. Katie falls along with her companions. Luckily, the height wasn't enough to cause serious injuries. The group quickly gets to their feet, and with their last ounce of energy, makes it to the safe zone. The monster obediently stops at the boundary. That night, they take shelter in a resort cabin. Over a dinner with whiskey, Nina explains that the attack of the monsters was too swift and massive for humanity to identify their weakness. Civilization fell within days. She also notes that the monsters only attack humans, ignoring animals. This casts doubt on the theory that their behavior is driven by predatory instincts.
It is different, seeing them up close. We're not meant to share the planet with those things.
They came out of nowhere, all at once. No one's had a chance to study them. You study something long enough, you can figure out how to kill it. What they did when they first came out of the ground.
Which was?
Wipe out 95% of the world's population in a month. They didn't stop to eat or sleep. They just didn't stop.
Before bed, Will recalls his last conversation with his wife before she left with Nina for the laboratory. The next day, the group reaches the entrance to a mine shaft running through the mountain. Nina reminds them that only the entrance and exit are in the safe zone, while the interior tunnels, with numerous offshoots, descend into danger. The monsters, which emerged from underground, have a clear advantage in such conditions. The compass won't work through the mountain, but the group decides to press on anyway. They don helmets with flashlights and descend into the mine. At the other end of the tunnel, they find the exit blocked. Deciding to go deeper, they use a metal ladder. In one corridor, they spot a red light, indicating a nearby monster, and immediately switch off their flashlights. Katie throws a grenade, hoping to seal the entrance, but it doesn't work. The group hides in a narrow passage, turns off their lights, and holds their breath so the monster won't sense their carbon dioxide. The creature probes the tunnel with a tendril tipped by the red light, but fails to find them. Will distracts the monster with a flare. This gives the group enough time to crawl through a narrow passage leading to an exit. Katie goes first, but encounters another monster waiting for them on the other side. The creature grabs her with its tendril and drags her into the darkness, clearing the way for Nina and Will. They escape to the surface via a nearby staircase. After a brief moment of mourning for Katie, they continue toward a ranger's cabin where they plan to spend the night. In the cabin, Will finds a pack of macaroni and cheese and eats it for dinner. Nina shares her hypothesis. The monster's scales generate an electromagnetic field. If a bullet can be designed to short-circuit it, the monsters will explode. She needs chemicals from the laboratory to create such a bullet. Will dismisses her idea as absurd, lamenting that his wife died for this stupid theory.
I told her not to go.
And yet here you are, with me, standing on that same ledge.
At dawn, taking the ranger's vehicle, they head for the city. There, in the hospital, are the oxygen tanks they need. After a tense pause, given the danger, Will presses the gas pedal to the floor and drives forward. The car hurtles downhill toward the deserted city, which after 3 years has yet to be overgrown with grass. Reaching the hospital, they cautiously sneak inside. Quietly, they ascend to the upper floors in search of supplies, but find only empty shelves. Hearing suspicious noises on the first floor, they move further. Will discovers a cabinet with supplies and fills his backpack. Meanwhile, Nina's compass detects an approaching monster. They dash for the exit, but the creature begins smashing through the walls, trying to reach them. The group ascends to a higher floor. A tendril from the monster wraps around Will through the wall, clearly intending to do something unnatural. Nina strikes the tendril with a fire axe, forcing it to release him. Amid the chaos, they run to the end of the corridor, where Will spots a storage room with oxygen tanks. A plan forms in his mind. Ordering Nina to run, Will sets up an ambush. When the monster charges, he fires, causing a massive explosion. The creature collapses, showing no signs of life. Nina, who hadn't run, convinces Will not to return to the mountains, but instead head to a nearby laboratory.
I thought I told you to run.
And I didn't listen.
They leave, unaware that the fallen monster is regaining consciousness. At the lab where Nina once worked, she feels confident. While she works with chemicals to create bullets from various materials, testing them on fragments of the monster's scales, Will explores the area. He finds her office with a family photo. Shocked, Will learns that Nina had children. She confesses that she lost them during a monster attack because she was working on a weekend. Her initial experiments fail. Will suggests leaving, but Nina refuses. She urges him to go, promising to catch up if she succeeds in creating something useful.
If I get this right, I won't need your help to get back.
I'll be on the road right behind you.
If I don't, there's no point in you dying here with me. Go.
Go be with Hunter.
After several attempts, she notices battery packs and decides to use cobalt to create a bullet. She manages to charge the first prototype. When a monster bursts into the laboratory, Nina takes aim. Meanwhile, Will is racing back to the mountains. The car loses a wheel, crashes into a boulder, and flips over. Will loses consciousness. Waking up in the evening, he hears the growl of a nearby monster. Gathering his supplies, he begins walking toward the safe zone. The monster pursues him, but at the edge of the safe area, 2 more creatures await. They form a closed circle around Will. He desperately fights back when suddenly, one of the monsters explodes into pieces. Atop the mountain stands Nina with loaded cobalt bullets. Her bullets short-circuit the monster's electromagnetic fields, causing them to explode. She finishes off the remaining monsters, which turn out to be robots programmed to kill only humans and not ascend above 2,500 meters. Based on their design, they were likely created by either aliens or another country.
They're machines.
They hunt us, but they don't eat us. That's not a living creature. That's programming.
By who?
The survivors return to the settlement. Will is joyfully reunited with his son. Nina raises a signal flag, notifying other communities that a way to fight the monsters has been found. The joyful news spreads across the radio waves. Local craftsmen begin making cobalt-coated bullets from improvised materials. At a memorial by the river, they place a bullet engraved with Katie's name before Nina and Will set out to fulfill her dream, to fight the monsters. A squad of volunteers armed with the new weapon descends from the mountains. The camera slowly pans over the landscape, showing explosions that gradually reclaim the land from the monsters. On this hopeful note, the film ends. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this recap, give it a like, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.